All right, everyone, welcome. We are here for our top of the year brunch and learn 2026, the very first one of this year. And I am so excited to have everyone's time and attention today that we can be enriched and impacted in a wonderful way, y'all. So, my name is Dr. Chapera K. Barnes, and I'll be serving as your host for today's brunch and learn, our January brunch and learn. Again, the very first one of the year. And today's presentation is going to be an exciting one. All of this time that we put together, like for the last 3 years now, we've been doing this. And every single month, we've been focusing our attention and focusing our topics around things that will help improve the health information professional's career path. Right. So we sometimes focus on coding, sometimes revenue cycle stuff. We've covered a variety of topics. And so today's topic is it's going to be a little off the beaten path. Yes, it's tailored toward you, the HIM professional, but we're going to take a little spin on it. So today's presentation topic is earning my stripes in a competitive HIM medical coding and billing industry with Mr. Brian Cui. And I'm going to introduce him in just a moment. But for those of you who are loyal supporters of the Qualified, we thank you for your continued support. For those of you who are visiting with us for the very first time, I mean, you're joining us hot off the press for the first time today. We welcome you and we are so glad to have you with us. Man, we have a variety of services that we offer to health information professionals and even students, those who are trying to get into the profession. So if you're wanting to get certified, gain some type of health information related certification, we can assist you with that. I'm going to or have Julia drop our website in the chat for you. It's www.the-qualified.com, where you can learn more about our services. Again, if you're wanting to get certified in some type of health information related field or credential, then we can assist you with that. If you're looking for new employment opportunities, we can help you with that as well. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you are an employer and you're looking for some qualified health information folks to come and serve on your teams, then reach out to us because we have opportunities for that as well. In addition to all of those wonderful things, you have our monthly brunch and learns, which is what you're here for today, where we provide continuing education opportunities for those who are already credentialed and maybe even just lifelong learners. So, again, today is no exception. We have an awesome time in store for you. Earning my stripes in the competitive HIM medical coding and billing industry will be presented to us today from Mr. Brian Cui. He is a senior manager at Cotiviti. He leads the clinical chart validation audit operations and ensures the accuracy and compliance of medical coding and documentation for various healthcare clients. Brian has over 20 years in healthcare experience, and 12 of those years are in clinical documentation improvement. So he is a CDI specialist. He holds the credentials of RHIA and CDIP, both from AHIMA. Now, Brian's also the founder and owner of Medical Coding Geek. Some of you may have heard of Medical Coding Geek before. It's a platform that promotes and supports medical coding, HIM, and the CDI community. And he's currently the curator of the CEU hit list. What is the CEU hit list, Brian? That is the list where he shares free CEUs offered by vendors and local chapters in the industry. And he's the administrator of several industry related Facebook groups. So Brian's hands are very much involved in this HIM pot. He created and hosts educational and engaging content, including the Not Elsewhere Classified podcast and the Medical Coding Geek YouTube channel. He also has been a national speaker for organizations such as AAPC, ACDIS, and AHIMA. His mission, friends, is to share stories and insights from professionals in his field and to inspire others to pursue their career goals. So excited. I hope you are too. Let us give a beautiful, warm, qualified welcome to Mr. Brian Cui. Put those hands together, those emojis, put them together. Welcome, Brian. We turn it over to you.
What a really nice welcome. Thank you, Dr. Barnes. I will say you mentioned one of the Facebook platforms that I oversee as a group administrator. One of them is related to preparing students for the RHIT and RHA exam. I'll tell you this much: the I monitor the posts over there. I mean, I again, I have my hands in many pots, but when I go put my hand in there, I will see folks who recently passed their exams, and they attribute it to the qualified program that you guys offer. One actual one student who's actually who was one of my employees took your program, passed, right? I believe it was an RHIT exam preparation. She promoted it within our group. And so from what she had learned, got her RHIT, did a really great job as one of our employees, and resulted, I'm happy to say, that she got a promotion to one of our senior auditor roles. So I don't know if you're aware about that, but I wanted to share that too because that's pretty cool. You know, you guys do a really good job sharing information. I mean, with the connections like Dr. Sabri, yourself, Dr. Barnes, especially when we go into FAHIMA conferences, I'm like, I'm glad to help you guys out because you guys make it so much fun. My goodness. All right. My turn, right? My turn to tell you stories. And if you guys know me, I love to tell stories. I may go long. I just told Dr. Barnes, hey, I need to keep time here because I will give you a lot of information, but in the terms of stories. So anyways, you guys can see my screen. As you can see here, earning my stripes in the competitive HI medical coding and industry, medical coding and billing industry. Earning the stripes. Well, why are we talking about earning the stripes? Let me share this picture with you here. As you can see, and if you guys are connected with me on LinkedIn, if not, please do so. I like to post a lot of things, especially the CEU hit list, which I'll get into a bit more. But most importantly, I use LinkedIn to share, my thoughts on leadership, career improvement, but also Jiu-Jitsu. I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back in September of last year. Last year? Yes, it's been over a year. This picture was my first class. Take a look at this picture very closely and see where can you spot me, right? I'm all the way to the left. Check out my uniform. It's brand spanking new. Check out the belt. There's no stripes. Look at the rest of the people. They have stripes. I think over on the left, on the other side there, with the people in the blue in the bottom, those are black belts. Somewhere in the middle, they're blue belts, right? So I bring this picture here to show how defeated I look on my first day and put in some relatability to those, for example, that are starting their journey in HIM and coding and billing, or new professionals who just got into that position, or more so get into a leadership position, or maybe transition from one type of coding or HIM position to the next, and you kind of feel like, I gotta start all over, right? And so that's me right there. I feel defeated. I got destroyed by the guy next to me. I call him the Italian assassin. Uh, we're in a class yesterday and he always pulls this choke on me. Oh my goodness. The next guy next to him, he's only, I think, 15, 14 years old. You hear all the memes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu of like younger kids beating older people up. Well, that's the scenario right there. No matter how I try to take him down, he always lands up on top and then squishing my face and choking me out. Everybody here on the team here has been supportive. So when we think about, somebody who's new in the industry or new into HIM, coming in as a student or from student to professional, just know that you have a community of people who are doing the same thing, dealing with the same struggles, and you could always go to them for support. These the community here, and I could tell you a lot of what I've learned in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to try and sprinkle it along the way in this conversation, but it has helped me a lot. I'm going to try and pull in some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu learning moments into the presentation that I'm supposed to have here. So let me show you the my professional timeline. And the reason why I always like to share my professional timeline, because it basically, talks about my career journey. My career journey is probably not the same as yours, but it could be similar to others, right? So, as Dr. Barnes had mentioned, over 20 years, my gosh, it's been so long. And my kids are, in college. I have one going, finishing up high school. I'm like, my gosh. And, also going to class makes you realize you're not that young 20-year-old no more. So you got to work on your mobility. You got to eat right, etc. Anyways, but it is a really nice moment to self-reflect. And for those that are seasoned professionals, it's a really nice time for you to self-reflect. It's like, what have I done? And do that periodically. I highly suggest you guys do that. Anyways, here's my professional timeline from student to professional, 2001 to 2006. So I did go to I graduated from Florida International University. I graduated in 2003. So around 2001, I started my first position. I'll go into that, and we'll go into 2006 a little bit here. In 2009 to 2014, that chapter of my professional career, I call it the pigeonhole, being pigeonholed, like being stuck. If I had to relate it to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like that 14-year-old on top, and I'm like, where do I go from here? What do I do? I have no idea where to go, what to do, and how to get out of the situation. That was about 5 years, about 5 years into that. I'll explain that. Then, once you're stuck in a position, you got to figure what is it that you got to do. You can't stay pinned to the ground. You can't be pigeonholed. So, around 2015, and I'll throw in some historical things that happened in the industry, but then I started to I need to start thinking outside of the box, right? I can't be complacent. I can't be stagnant. I can't be, oh, woe is me. I can't go nowhere. I have to do something because nobody else is going to do it for me except for myself. So between that 2015 to 21, I feel like that was my most creative period. And thinking about how do I make myself better while in the mission of all of things, sharing stuff and also sharing stories, of course. Then we go into 2022 to present. That's when I've had some positions before in management. This is where I really got into more consistent managing from 2022 to present. So taking everything from all the way back from being a student, going and being pigeonholed, thinking outside the box. And then, I know I've mentioned this to Dr. Sabri, transitional skills, taking your transitional skills and then taking it to executive presence. Like you're really going up that career ladder. All right. Let's see. We're good on time. Student to professional. So here's the timeline from 2001 to 2006. So 2001, my first position in healthcare was a skilled nursing facilities admissions coordinator. I was the one who, before uh, Epic. I can't believe I'm even dating myself, but we had paper, we had admission documentation that we had to send to the patients, send to the family, and had them sign all of that. That was me. And I did that for maybe a year until I found a position in an actual hospital, right? So when you're in HIM, in an HIM program, I've actually told students, the best learning path is through a hospital, right? And so I figured, well, let me work for a hospital. I will work for radiology out of all places and begin there. So radiology office associate, I guess is more like a radiology file clerk, glamorous title, where before PACS, if you guys don't know what PACS is before the radiology images were digitized, we were dealing with films. And so I was the guy who filed all the films into the jackets, did the rolling file thing and all of that. That was just an interesting workout. And by the time I was in 2001, between a transition over to the next position and starting the HIM program, we were transitioning into PACS. So the time that I started my HIM career, we were in the period of transition. And I guess the buzzwords back then for AHIMA was, oh, electronic health record, electronic medical record, how are we going to handle this, et cetera? What are we going to do, right? That was the big buzzwords back then. And so in 2001, I started the HIM program over at Florida International University. So we go into it. I'm doing my thing in the program. 2003, I finally earned my bachelor's in health information management from FIU. And then from there, I did my internship actually, again, dating myself. And, we're talking about fiber optics and internet. This is going back to 2003 where we had 56K modems, right? Uh, with the AOL and I forgot what other platforms, but AOL was one of them, and dial-up internet. But I was tasked as my internship to develop a work from home policy. Considering the remote work that we have now, and I look back at like what I typed, I had prepared. I'm like, my goodness, this is so outdated. I was tasked to talk to HR about developing a contractual agreement with the auditor. I'm not the auditor, but the employee. I had to go to IT to talk about the technology benefits or the technology aspects of the remote work, which was 56K remote desktop. I mean, this is predated to cloud technology and AI. So it was very, very basic. Surprisingly, it worked as fast at the time that we had it. And so I could not have imagined how much speed we have now compared to we had in 2003. So that internship helped me, of course, earn my bachelor's in health information management. That actually led into 2004, as you could see here, where I landed my first position in medical records as a HIM technician. As a HIM technician, again, pre-electronic health records, I was tasked to go up to the floors, pick up the medical records from each um, nursing unit, bring it down and count them all in, and then get them ready in for scanning. So we actually scanned our medical records, not entry in medical records, but more so scan the records that were already handwritten into a system and into a storage platform. From there, I obtained my RHIA. If you ask, I'm sure most people that are watching this call, like, what did you do to study the RHIA? I took a green book, which I actually have in the back of my office. Let me see. Health information management of a strategic resource. The author is Abdul Haq. And so basically I took that book, I read it front to back. I did a study guide, I did a mock test, everything. You remember that green book, Dr. Sabri? Yes, I keep it because I'm gonna go into it, and it became important once it became when I finally got into the field in 2005. So I did obtain my RHA. I'm like, all right, this is so cool. And one thing that I will tell those that are new credential folks is I know you'll feel like your head in the clouds, but sometimes you also have to you have to ground yourself in the situation too, right? You just obtained this RHIA, and back then, as I think 24-year-old, I was like, I could conquer the world now. I was overzealous, and I'm like, you know what? And the thing is, with HIM programs, I guess the program that I was in, and instilled the end goal should be HIM director, right? And so back then, we had very, limited but very basic rules to think about. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, definitely I am not gonna get into coding. I hated coding as a student, and look where I am. I'm dealing with medical codes. But things that you hate, you might end up loving and doing as a profession, right? So, anyways, my end goal I wanted to be like that HIM director, right? I wanted to reach that status. I'm like, yes. So the story goes is I was just looking as a HIM technician. I was looking for positions, and it wasn't on like, internet. It wasn't like Career Builder, or back then it was monster.com. Those were the platforms that we had. It was in a newspaper. I don't know if it was Miami Herald or Sun Sentinel back in the time. And I was just, grab the newspaper, I was looking through, and I'm like, there's a ad there that says medical record director needed. I'm like, well, okay. And I called the number, and it was a HIM director, or the official title was medical records director, but I called it HIM director just to make it cool. It was for a director position for a jail system. 5 jails for one county. It oversaw 40 employees, 24/7 operations. So as a new credentialed professional. I'm like, hmm. Let's just do it. What what's the worst that can happen, right? And I'll tell you, it was a very good learning experience. It basically, I jumped in the water real quick into directorship, into people leading, into managing systems, etc. And I know I referenced that book there, but like my first day, first couple days of trying to understand the role, maybe the first 30 days, I had to grab that book, lock myself inside my office, which was basically a jail cell turned into an office, and just go through everything that. And in my mind, it was more so to do a checklist. Do I understand this process? How does this correlate with the correctional health medical record system? And so they had, oh my gosh, it was so antiquated. It was so backwards. In the year, I was able to inventory or medical records. Again, this is 2005. They had records going back to 1996 in a warehouse. Nobody knew where it was. And so imagine taking all of that as a project and then inventorying it all, being able to identify where one page of a medical record would be in a physical system. Now, thank goodness we have electronic health records, but imagine in a manual system what that took. Anyways, after that, you look at 2005, the new buzzword around 2005 was clinical documentation improvement. It was not integrity, it was improvement. So in 2006, the employer where I worked as a HIM technician reached out to me and they said, "Hey, Brian, I know you used to work for us. I see that you have your RHIA. Would you be interested in CDI?" I'm like, CDI is, I'm thinking back to, when I worked as a HIM technician, because I remember they had consultants come in to talk about CDI. And the only thing I remembered was the coder and the consultant at arms like this. And like, I don't agree with you. I'm like, is that the job? And they're like, yes, that's the job of what happened in between. I'm like, okay, I don't have clinical skills, I would say, because I knew they were looking for nurses. They says, no, don't worry, this is a very entry level role in CDI. And now, if you think about today, for those that are trying to get into CDI, it's very hard to come by nowadays because it's already been in the game for such a long time. I'd like to date it back to 2005 when we started to hear the CDI term, and now the qualifications for it has increased. So to try to get into it now, like, it, or to get in it with like the bare minimum, is very far and few between. So I was very lucky to get into the position. They said, "We'll give you a bonus." I'm like, all right, we'll pay you more than what you're being paid now. I'm like, all right. And so, I mean, again, I asked myself, well, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just do it, right? And so that became, I felt like, yes, I am a professional. Now that I am doing what I need to do, I'm back into coding, even though I don't like it. I'll learn it. I'll love it. I'll get used to it. Don't worry. So that was that. And then it come into like the 2009. So I was in the position from 2006 to like around 2009 and 2014. So around 2009, I was like, okay, again, buzzword clinical documentation. I'm getting ahead of myself in the presentation. We did have Actis. We did have acceleration of CDI vendors back then. Also the change here between this time was diagnosis related groups to MSDRG. So if you guys don't know what that looked like, imagine the grouping system for DRGs used to be a condition with a complication or comorbidity, or a condition without a complication or comorbidity. And then it changed to MSDRG, which included a condition with or without CC or MCC. Then you have a condition with CC. Then you have a condition with an MCC. What is an MCC? What is a CC? A CC is a complication and comorbidity. I'm not going to go into that, otherwise I may go over time. But a major complication, MCC is a major complication and comorbidity. So basically, what it did is it took it from the DRG system as the CC, complication and comorbidity, and it broke it into more a severity level base. So the MCC is a more severe version compared to the CC. So like respiratory failure is an MCC versus hyponatremia. So could you imagine back then, previously to DRG, respiratory failure and hyponatremia were classified as a complication of comorbidity. It removed out the severity, crazy, right? So we build the same way, whatever it may be, regardless if I have a CC or not, regardless of it just blows my mind, the severity. Wow. So then we get into APR DRG, which takes the two-tiered version or the three-tiered versions from CC to MCC to now what we call severity of illness, right? So severity of illness, there's 4 levels. I'm not going to get into that, but severity level of 1 is like the least severe, and the 4 is the most severe. So take the CC and break it down into 2, such as severity 1, severity level 2, SOI 2, and then you take the MCC and break it down to like a severity of 3 and 4, right? Again, I'm not going to go into that because when APR first came out back then in Florida, I was like, let me try and hack the system and see if there's an actual list that determines a SOI 1, 2, 3, and 4. And no, there's no way. And I come to find out, I learned that there's an algorithm associated with it. So it is a very complicated process, much like trying to get views in like TikTok or Instagram, kind of like that. Right. And this also included, in terms of history, the CMS recovery audit program. So I always say whenever there's something new, 10 to 15 years later, there's always a correction by government. And that was that CMS recovery audit program, which hired recovery audit contractors, right? And they were tasked to begin the review of medical records based upon I'm assuming the change from DRG to MSDRG and also APR SOI. Is it being documented clearly? Is it being coded appropriately? And if there's any discrepancies, as I would say, then we would result in these massive denials. So I remember back in 2009, looking at the release of information department, they were going crazy, printing out medical records, processing out requests. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, because I normally come into the department and say, hey, good morning, guys. Like, hey, Brian. I'm like, why? Why you guys are busy? Yeah, we have all of these things from the recovery audit contractors. I'm like, all right, see you guys later. So that's what was happening then in the industry. As a result of that, the market wanted more registered nurses. The reason why, and I have to go back to documentation or publication, is the recovery audit contractors, which were contracted by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, their team consisted of nurses. And even when CDI came out, one of the recommendations by the consultants were like, we want nurses to do CDI, right? And so the market wanted registered nurses for CDI professionals instead of HAM coding professionals. Well, imagine me coming in around 2000, 2005, 2006, being hired as a CDI professional. Now the market shift in terms of requirements for more RNs, right? And so the challenge for me between this time, 2009, 2000, I tried between that time. It was such a struggle. It was such a, I don't know, in terms of mentally, it's like, gosh, it was a lot on me, myself, and like really questioning my abilities. I really took it personally, but then I like, let me get myself out of this rut, and I need to figure myself out. And this is the point where I was pinned, right, down to the ground like this, and basically somebody is doing like this to me. I'm like, oh, what do I do at this moment? Do I hip, scape, shrimp, all of that stuff, flip the person over, do a sweep, whatever? I didn't know, because I didn't have the skills to do it, right? I didn't know the techniques to get out of these situations. But the only way you learn is by being in that situation, unfortunately. So consider this. I swear, I've been preparing this. I'm like, oh, I have a perfect picture of somebody who pinned me to the ground. I think I'm gonna post it on LinkedIn, just so that way for those that are listening to it, like, that's the picture he's talking about. It's a really good one. And think of that as being pigeonholed. Let me write that down. I'm gonna put like pigeonholed picture here. Take a look at that. Laugh at me on the ground being pictured and pinned. Anyways, let's go to the next one. So I really had to figure myself out, not just in medical records, not just in coding, not just in HIM, not just in CDI. This is where I began to explore myself as a person, right? And really think about like what makes Brian Brian, right? I really had to get down to the basics. And as you could see here, I started to do things here, so, do some races, like get my mind off of work. I'm getting paid. Let me do things that in terms of physical physical challenges that I can overcome. If I can overcome these challenges, then I think it would translate more into my career path. So the first picture that you see here is me going around the Homestead Speedway on a longboard. I for some reason I find these weird things and I run with it. But this is a longboard, and the stick there kind of propels me, and it's called street stand-up paddle. So this is when the I guess the sport of paddling on the water. Well, this is paddling on the street. I had connected with people in California, and they got me into this. And I found this race that it was a 24-hour race, and this is me like early in the break of the morning after the evening hours doing completing about 100 miles in 24 hours on this thing. I could not feel my feet at the that race. I had severe neuropathy after that one. The second one here, you could see I'm like, if I could do that, I could do an obstacle course race. Again, I love showing my face here being defeated. I don't know what it is about it, but I like to show the grit and the determination that I have here. So this was the Spartan race in Miami. It was not fun. It was raining. It was muddy. I tripped, and you can see it in my hand there at the bottom there. It was swollen. I tripped, I fell, I sprained my ankle, I hit my hand on rocks over in Biscayne Bay, and it swole up. Now I couldn't even grab anything. And that wall in the back there was my last thing to do. I had to climb up a ramp. I kept on slipping down. I'm like, my gosh, do I just go around it and just finish and do burpees? No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna climb up this darn obstacle and finish it. That's me passing the finish line. I'm like, can I get a banana now? Can I go home and sleep? Most importantly, take a shower and get this mud off of me. My goodness. This one here was a picture of my first um, half marathon for Disney. So as I was telling Dr. Barnes, I moved up to Central Florida in 2018. I literally live 15 minutes away from Disney World. This was the half marathon. My face was in pain there. I actually did the half marathon. I didn't. The challenge of doing a half marathon is your mind tells you that you can do 13 miles, but by mile 8, your body shuts down. And so I was really mad because people were not, um, what do you call it? Oh, sorry about that. Who were not typically physically able to do marathons were actually beating me. So that's that. And that's me biting the metal. I'm like, I need to go home too. So you could see me definitely struggling there. All right. So again, thinking outside of the box, right? Thinking outside of the box, I had to continue. I more so, again, I did all that. I'm like, okay, I need to go back to my career and figure out what is it that I need to do, right? And so here I then obtained my CDIP. I figured, if I get my CDIP, maybe it might give me a better chance in getting to the role, right? And so at the time it didn't because they were still looking for nurses. So I still, even if I got this job, I mean, if I got this credential, I'm sorry, with I think this is like 2006 to 2000, like 9 years of experience. With 9 years of experience with some of these people that I was trying to get hired with, and he says, nope, you need an RN. And so I'm like, you know what? I got mad. And I'm like, you know what? No, I am not going to go to nursing school just to go into CDI and something that I'm doing. And I got really furious, right? To the point where, like, I need to go find an outlet and I need to find some other way of doing things. So that's where Medical Coding Geek came about. It was I could tell you the story, but it really started out as a tutoring opportunity. Like I need to feel value within my own profession, right? And the only way I could do that is if I help somebody. I was doing that already as an instructor, but I feel like, let me also do it on the side too and help others outside of the classes that I had because the program that I was overseeing had a very small class. I'm like, I need to help more people. So I started tutoring, and then that became it turned into a community to where if I feel like I'm helping people, well, let me help more people. And that resulted in a community that resulted in the start of Facebook groups. And that then led to Medical Coding Geek. It's not me. I am not by all means, a medical coding geek at all. I may be labeled as such because I created the community, but that's what it is. It was just simply a community. I built up a Facebook group. I believe that has like 17,000 members, I think, going back to like way back when. And then with the activity from Facebook groups, it led to other things, which I'll explain here. In 2017, I created a podcast, but then it made me a subject matter expert. It led to me getting a speaking engagement because of the recognition of just starting a community and helping a community, right? They're like, oh, Brian is the person that you want to go to. He's the subject matter expert. Why don't you invite him for a speaking engagement? I'm like, all right, you want me to speak? Okay, fine. What's the worst that can happen, right? And so a couple of years later, after starting the Facebook groups, I'm like, what can we do new about with these groups? We have all of these conversations. It's all written. I'd like more so to communicate and chat with people. And podcasts were coming about, like Joe Rogan podcast was getting popular, etc. I'm like, let me jump on that train. And that's where the Not Elsewhere Classified podcast came about. Sometime in July 2017. I spent 4 years doing that. I don't have it currently up. It's still there. The episodes are there. You have Dr. Sabri. I believe she was one of the guests there, so you could listen to her episode there. But I over the 4 year time frame, I had 100 episodes, over 100 episodes, right? And so with that, I learned a lot about interviewing. What you see here, the interaction, the communication, the talking is all from 4 years of podcasting. Learning how to interview, know what type of questions to ask, learning how to command the interview, know when to stop, know when to end, know when to begin, know when to stop somebody. There's a lot of things. I studied a lot of great interviewers back in the day. So it has done a lot for me up until this point. From there, after that, I became a clinical validation auditor for Cotiviti. And then I moved to Central Florida near Disney World. I'm literally 10, 15 minutes away. And that led to more speaking engagements. So the snowball effect of just getting out of that pigeonhole moment, figuring out myself, then deciding to help people, getting recognition from helping people, and then taking I guess hey Brian, could you do this type of thing, right? And you're like, yes, I could, and it led to more opportunities, right? Even though it's not paid, like you think of Medical Coding Geek as a business, I don't. It's more of a community. It never really made like, I couldn't live off of it, but like it was more so of a platform to connect people, and more so for me. I gotta be selfish to connect with people too and share my thoughts and put it out to a mass audience, right? 2019, I became a national speaker. 2020, not I became, COVID happened. And so this became more so like, what do I do for the next year, 2020? We have NEC podcast, etc. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's begin the YouTube because I think, voice and audio is great, but getting on camera, which I feel for every professional listening here or new professional, it is a must, right? Especially now that we have remote roles and most jobs are remote. I work for a company that's based out in Utah. I have team leads in Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, all around the nation. How do you keep people engaged, right? How do you get people engaged? And of course, I had to test the waters and try YouTube. Let me get on camera. Let me, play onto the camera and then take on what I learned from podcasting and put it to a camera, right? And then from there, back then, you see here the CEU hit list. I have a video on that. If you ever guys look up the CEU hit list, it explains that the start of it wasn't actually me. It was somebody who created HitKnots, and she's also was also a guest, and I explained that there is she was retiring, and because again I was just in a position where people knew me. It's like, well, Brian does this, can he do it? I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? Let me take over HitKnots and provide free CEUs. So now that's become my focus, is more so free CEUs. I think it's easier when you think about where I am in my career. It's a matter of updating CEUs, kind of being the bounty hunter of CEUs searching out the internet, seeing like what's available out there, and sharing it to the masses, and doing it once a month. I think it's very easy. With the Not Elsewhere Classified podcast, if you ever think about doing one, I'll tell you the time that committed towards it. I did it about maybe at one point one guest a week. Each guest from start to finish, meaning like you're getting the guest, recording, editing, marketing, posting, 8 hours. 8 hours per guest. So 8 hours per week plus also working. That was a lot. And so like I needed to take a step back from podcasting, but it did have a lot of benefits. Same thing with like the YouTube. It was a lot. So as you can see here, just some pictures of my journey. Again, I'm a very visual person. You could see I got my CDIP. Also, I forgot to mention the beginning of the Medical Coding Geek was when ICD-10 came about. So the time that I became a tutor, people were like, Brian, could you teach me ICD-10? I'm like, well, shoot, my employer made me learn ICD-10 for like 3 years. I'm like, okay, I might as well just share what I know, right? And just tutor for that, right? And then it became a big, massive conversation on Facebook. That's where I jumped in. People were asking questions. Someone, I think it was Create a Coder, that was a Facebook group, had mentioned, hey, you come in my group and help me out. And that's where you kind of jump in and flow like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You just kind of go with it, go with the flow. Let's see here. What else pictures here? That's my first what do you call that? Webinar, microphone, podcast, microphone. I still have it. I actually still have it. Oh my gosh. It's right here. I still have it. Wow, I can't believe that. Yeah, it still works. I still got it. But this is just a reminder, like, my gosh, this is where your humble beginnings were into leading to where your career, ended up with. This is me at the FEHIMA conference. I think this is my first time being a speaker there. Kind of nervous, but I remember after taking this picture, I had a slew of notes, right? And then before the conference, before my session started, I'm like, I don't need these notes. Let's just go for it. Let's just speak off the cuff type of situation. And that became my style. So like how you see me here talking here, I didn't even prepare for this session. I'm just gonna go talk for hours if I need it. And by the way, let me check time. All right. Good. I'm gonna go speed through this. This is the first logo of Medical Coding Geek right here. Boy, I wish I had AI back then. It would have made my life a little bit easier because I had to physically create this on my own using a certain platform. This kind of tells gosh, this is way back when I had to source the community to finding out what is the best name for our group that we created that helps people with medical coding. And so I was actually in the process of developing setting up a domain, and then I did that. Funny thing, if you look at the bottom, Medical Coding Geek used to be called Medical Coding Tutor. Brian Kui. And then I'm like, we need to create branding. So then I had to learn about branding. I'm like, well, Medical Coding Geek seems a little bit more like somebody with open arms and hugging you. I don't know. But that's where I kind of began. And then you can see here, this is what it led to. The development. I mean, if you're thinking about like starting a business, logos is such the creative process, right, Dr. Barnes? It really is vital. This is things that you don't necessarily deal with, in school, but like, gosh, the creative things that you have to work on, the logo making. This is the one I'm very proud of because I had to do this manually. The Not Elsewhere Classified podcast with the tropical Caribbean vibes. Oh gosh, I was just in the Bahamas. Beautiful beach. I need to go back. Anyways, I'm going on a wild tangent. These are pictures from my what do you call that? My speaking engagement. This was my first one for AAPC. This in the middle here was the National Conference for ACDIS, where I actually had met the director here, as you know. Let's see. This was a picture. This is where I'm like, wow. If you ever had to speak somewhere, please go to the Coding Fiesta up in Gainesville. They have this is up in the University in Florida. I felt when I looked at this picture, I'm like, yep, I made it as as a speaker here because look at that picture, 360 60 degrees of screens. Look at the people like looking at those screens. Look at me talking about CDI. And I'm like, gosh, this is really cool. I mean, when you get to this point here, like, yes, I guess people are listening to what you have to say, and the stuff that you have definitely have merit. This is me going into YouTube. I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to put myself out there? I still don't feel comfortable putting myself out there. But the thing that I even tell my people on my team is you gotta be uncomfortably successful to move forward. And I have to be uncomfortable doing these things. I'm like, all right, let me make myself I guess a YouTube personality, whatever, and let me just try it and see where it goes. Right. And of course, here's the CEU hit list. It has done wonders. I think it's done a lot more than the rest because it basically provides what people want. Free stuff. Right? But I leverage it in a way that promotes everybody, including the qualified here. So if you go in here, you could see that we promote the qualified services in the CEU hit list. Taking transferable skills to the executive presence. I'm gonna go really quick here, but again, this is where I was just telling Dr. Barnes, I'm like, this is the stuff that goes way beyond the bachelor's level. And I feel like I need to get a master's at this point because the stuff that you do as a senior manager does a lot. So anyways, 2022, I became a team lead in clinical validation. I then tried to apply 7 months in as a senior manager. And what happened there was I got it was more of a learning opportunity. I didn't get the job. It was more so like, learning about the interview process and what's required for upper level management positions. I was more so, very accustomed to like, auditing positions, coding positions, but never management positions. And it got me more exposed to that, which I think is very good. I didn't get the job, right? So 2022, 2023, I took over new clients over a new business line. My manager saw that I had applied and felt like, let me give Brian a special project here and see what he can do. Didn't give me any direction, just like, here you go, Brian, just do that. Right. And basically, I developed a structure, an operational rigor, an operation system that today I feel is the foundation of what I do currently in management. Right. I learned to treat my work like my own business. So team, you have the qualified like a business, but translate that back into like if you don't have a business, look at your work, look at like you own your business, right? Become the CEO of your own work, despite the position that you have. If you are a medical coder, well, you are a CEO of the charts that you currently do, right? You got to delegate it to where it needs to go. You're in charge of that. Protect your numbers at all costs, as I would tell my auditors, right? So I learned to treat my work like a business, and that got me engaged with numbers, reporting, etc. I engaged with my team. I developed relationship with the clients, etc. And that then developed my portfolio, which then led to more visibility. So, if I had to tell you something now in terms of professional development is number one, develop your portfolio, as you can see all the way back there. Number two, as mentioned here by being recognized and all of that, is the visibility, right? In 2024, I managed to take those clients and multiply the revenue by 5. A lot. It was a lot. Only because we grew in clients, we grew in inventory, and with the operational rigor that was already set, it only allowed that to happen. Because if there was no operational rigor in regards to the growth, then we wouldn't have seen the revenues that we currently see now, right? So then I'm like, all right, I got a portfolio, I got something to share, right? And then following 2 years later, so you can see October 22, October 2024, a new position opened up for the same role. Well, the same role, different aspects. I decided to apply for it. The only change in that, and I actually, yes, if you go to the YouTube channel, I did talk about I actually did a video on how I, just going through the process of doing a team lead. I don't think I ever did it for a manager, but like I look back at the presentation that I had in October for the senior manager, and I look at the presentation that I had to give as a manager for October 2 years later, and there's a stark difference. The only difference that I had noticed is direction. In the first presentation as a manager for the interview, I only presented problems. In the next interview 2 years later, I presented the problems, but identified what I think I could do with them as a manager. Oh, that just kind of got the juices flowing there. It actually gets me excited now. I'm like, yes, that's what's needed, right? So it got me to the senior manager, and I'm happy to say I've done it for a year. I just got done telling my boss it's been a wild ride, but I feel like, what I need, and we just talk about like strengths and opportunities for improvement. My opportunity for improvement, and it goes back to our discussion, Dr. Barnes, is innovation. Innovation, creation, creativity, and trying to, number one, let your team do what they need to do. That allows you to do creative things to create new solutions for your team, right? And so that's was 2024 going into 2025. That was the wild ride. I oversee 7 audit teams. I'm about to hire for an 8th one. Oh my goodness. I oversee NLP, natural language processing engagement. I look at technical enhancements with the platforms that we have. I'm also over process improvement, right? Could you imagine how much innovation you need in all of that? And also, when I first got the role, I'm like, I got to look at my executive presence. How do I present myself? And if you ever read the book Executive Presence 2.0, the revolving theme is about your gravitas. How, like the gravitas means like if I walk into the room, people will look at me like, yeah, I'll take you seriously. This guy has the gravitas. And most importantly, with the stuff that I've worked with, project management going into 2026, like, trying to do the same thing. I think, just being pigeonholed. I'm like, what do I do now that I'm in management? I'm like, I put here blue belt for my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am about to test 52 moves and about to go through a ceremony that, oh my gosh, it is called the Shark Tank, where I have to do rounds and rounds of Brazilian sparring for like 10 minutes at a time. And I am totally preparing myself. Like you see, I'll have like my workout gear. I'm about to work out after this one to get my cardio up. But I could tell you, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu has helped me a lot. I'm going to go into the next slides here in a second, but it has helped me a lot. Lean Six Sigma, perhaps. Project management. I mean, I know Team Qualified has a pilot program. I'm seriously looking at that. Just letting you know. Pursue a master's. Yeah. Once my daughter graduates, I may pursue my master's. I don't know. It's like, do I really need it? Yes, I do. I guess. I don't know. But that's where I am. So some more pictures. I'm looking at the time. Again, just helping and sharing with people, connecting with people, being like asked, can you come speak with us? This is the University of Central Florida. I did this last year. It's funny because a tropical storm was about to hit us. I'm like, you know what? Tropical storm. Us Floridians down here, when we hear tropical storms, that's just a simple rainstorm. So I decided to come by, talk with the students. I think the one on the very right graduated. I think they all graduated. I know the one on the right, he's the president. He obtained his RHIA, has a job, he's well to go. But these are great students. The program now I listened to, I was like, man, it's way different from the program that I had in FIU. I know you guys don't ask about like filing systems and all of that. It's more so, really technology driven, right? This is another student that, hold on, I have something here. Yeah, that's Martin, correct. Yeah, Martin Barcas. Yes, he graduated, got his RHIA. He invited me over to do speak over for UCF, right? This is another student from Western Governors University. Her name is Barbara Martinez. She was one of my first interns over at Cativity, and I showed her the ropes. This is her taking a picture of her graduation at Western Governors University, and I was very fortunate last year to go to California while my wife was running, I think, a race for Disneyland, and I'm like, let me sneak over to Cheesecake Factory and go meet up with her and her husband, and we had a wonderful conversation about life and career. It was just really a nice moment to connect. Next one here, in terms of recognition, I was, in terms of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a great platform. And so with the contributions that you put into platform, I was exposed to being, well, actually, I was awarded being the top 100 Filipinos on LinkedIn for 2024 and also 2023. So, the what I would have to say is if you have something to say it. You know, the LinkedIn is a wonderful platform to connect, but also to share. Another thing that I'm very unique at sharing is stuff that is not in the industry. I like to share Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu posts, but I also shared, like, you can see here that's a melodica. Do I have it around here? I thought it's in the back there. But like I actually shared that I won a talent contest at work. And this is, if you go back to my profile, you might find the video there. So anyways, in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I will tell you this much. I have learned a lot. Meaning, like, I came in defeated, I was scared, but now I can go into class very calm. I could be choked out minutes from like passing out, and you'll find me laughing. Prior to that, I would be panicking, right? I would be panicking, hyperventilating. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna get hurt? And so once I got beyond that, I was able to keep what's the word? Composure. This classes that I've had over the past year and a half have taught me composure in situations that in terms of chaos. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very much chaotic. So some of the pictures that you see here, this is my first tournament. I won third place. I have the medal back here, but I'm not going to reach it back there. The picture with the gentleman here in the white gi is actually Carlos Gracie Jr. He's actually the founder of the school that I go to. I was very fortunate. As you saw in the previous picture, when I was in California meeting up with that intern, I actually snuck over to the headquarters and met with him. I was in his class, and then he was very nice. He's like, "Can I take a picture?" He's like, "Yes, come on, take a picture." So just so you're aware, these are the coral belts, and there's only a few, like a percentage, very small percentage of people that have this coral belt. And I was very lucky to meet him. He's one of two that I know so far. And the last one here was back in, I like to say, November. I fought the same guy here again, but I won a gold medal. So, the same way when you think about your career and the path here, it's more so like, you got to start from the very beginning. You'll come in with that white gi, brand new, come into class defeated, but over time, you'll earn your stripes. You'll take those stripes and then realize, I can do stuff with this, right? I am in myself, I am very capable, even though the outcome may not be great. And go into competition and come out with a gold medal, and then come out learning the different things. I've done 3 competitions so far. I know the second one I lost, but like I walked away. All right, I felt hurt. I was defeated by 2 huge giants from Central Florida. I'm like, my gosh, they're really large. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't even know who they were, and learning a lot, to coming around, training hard, working on my craft, working on my skill, working on my cardio. I'm a large guy, and coming out on top. So I think that's it. I think that's all. But anyways, I do want to thank you guys for being part of this presentation. Earning your stripes, continue to earn them. Go to blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. You never know. The sky's the limit. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Listen, I want to do this like the little kids do. I absolutely loved just witnessing. See, this is my first time hearing your full story like that. And I'm
Okay.
sure there's a lot of stuff that was left out, but just
Mhm.
hearing that professional, like hearing your professional journey, that beautiful, very inspiring and relatable, because so many of us go through those same ups and downs, and you don't hear a lot of people talking about how they felt pigeonholed in their career and they had to kind of dig their way out and search within themselves to see what they are good at and learn themselves and discover more about themselves and unlock those gifts. And so you just painted a beautiful picture for us, a beautiful journey for us. And it was filled with life lessons and all kinds of nuggets and gems that were dropped and quotes that were dropped and things that we can write on our walls and all kinds of stuff, stick on sticky notes and put on our boards. Like it was absolutely beautiful, Brian. So I just want to say thank you so much for gracing us today with your presence and with your story. Your story was beautiful and still is being developed because there's more to come for you. Absolutely more to come. So
Agreed.
I'm curious to know like what you'll be doing 5 years from now and what's going to be added to that timeline and what other challenges you've overcome. So a lot of takeaways from today's presentation. I'm going to scan the chat to see if there are any questions or anything in there. Looks like everyone's saying thank
May
you.
I have a word, please?
Dive in, dive in.
Thank you so much to all of you. And Brian, this presentation was fantastic. I think it was such a valuable and powerful walk down memory lane in HIM, right? Reflecting on all of the changes, the evolution of HIM. So if anybody in the audience, they might not have experienced that before. So they got a nice little history lesson. I personally especially loved hearing about how you found yourself during that time that you felt pigeonholed, right? It's clear that the activities that you did, Julia put on the chat that you like hard things, right? But I think that those activities didn't just help you pivot, but it really supported your mindset and helped you find some other purpose. So it was really inspiring to hear that. So if you can give some advice to someone who feels pigeonholed right now or who might be unemployed, what would you tell them?
Okay, so I have to bring back the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? So if you're pinned on the ground and you're about to black out, the first thing that you do that they teach us is frame yourself, right? So as you're being pressed, frame yourself out, right? So in other words, give yourself room to breathe for a second, right?
Mm.
So frame yourself out, breathe, breathe. Sometimes when I'm doing it to the other person, breathe. It's okay, right? So they would breathe, right? And then in the moment, reflect on what is it that you actually know, right? Go back to your basics. What did you learn, right? Who are you? That's where I had to really get that. Like, who is Brian Kui these days? I don't know. Like, the people that they think is Brian Kui is not, I feel like it's not worth merit. But like internally, then you had to ask yourself, who am I? What can I do? What have I done? And kind of revisit. I'm actually doing that right now. Like, what's my portfolio look like that I can create something now? Like, I'm in that. I'm coming out of that now. Once you've identified who you are, then whatever direction comes your way where you think you could do it, just like in the moment that you're in the position in Brazil, if you find the space, get there, and then start moving. Eventually, you'll take out the person on top of you. I can't believe this camera is moving, but like you would then find yourself back on top of the other person in advantage to attack. So rather than going from so you would start off, pigeonhole being in a defensive position, you're like, oh no, help me. Then like, okay, I don't like this. And then you push out, right? Breathe. You would push the person off, find space, go into the space, and then manipulate your way that you're in an advantage to where you're taking over the situation or over the person and then attack. Right. So like those moments of like, you see those hard things. I'm like, yeah, it's not easy, but I have to do it. Right. And I think, in those moments of those races, I like to say you have to battle your own demons per se, right? Like
Hmm.
you hear like in fighting terminology, you gotta go dark sometimes. You gotta really go dark. Like, or there's a show called Physical 100 Asia, right? I would highly say it's a fun show. It's like all these athletes, but you'll hear like Team Australia say, "You gotta go dark." Like like, oh, okay, I understand that because you gotta battle your own demons, and to fight your way out to come out on top. So in that, I think the vital moments in being pigeonholed is that once you're able to unpin yourself from that situation, I feel like as you continue to breathe, as long as you're breathing and being thankful to breathe, right? Just go with the flow and continue with whatever comes your way. Because I didn't mention this, but as you could tell, a lot of the opportunities that came my way were opportunities that I wasn't even looking for. They just kind of fell in my lap. And you heard me say, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'm like, well, if this is what I need to do, if this is what's coming my way, if somebody values me to do this work, I'm just gonna go in that direction. I'm gonna go where I feel valued.
I love that. I love that. Brian, that's awesome. I don't even want it to end because I feel like we're just sitting with like someone who's full of wisdom and you're so open to share your experiences and what you've learned. And I've never been more inspired. Like I'm interested in what I want to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu too.
Let's do it. Come on.
Like, is
I
anybody else not interested in
Come
Brazilian
on.
jiu-jitsu? Like,
Come on.
oh my God.
If anything, it would get you to start going to classes. If you ever go to LinkedIn, I know there's the people that advise, what's their name? Jean Marie, and I think the other guy, they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And
Wow.
my goal one day is to get you all into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One day we get in a
That would
conference,
be
and
fun.
then Brian comes in with a huge mat and we just start rolling. Like
That would be
let's
so
just
much fun.
go at it. I mean, I think that's just add that to the Fahima conference
Yeah, that would be
session,
fantastic.
a
Oh my
session of
goodness.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know what? So just really quick, yesterday we were watching, I think it was the summit or Everest, and I was just like, why would anybody want to go climb Mount Everest? And now I'm like, I see why.
Yes.
We can do this. We can do this. I love that. This is so inspiring. So
Mhm.
yeah, we all might be joining you for jujitsu.
Yes. If anything, I would be teaching you guys. As I don't know, I might crush you all, but at least I will walk. Okay, Dr. Sabri, Dr. Barnes, let's go. Go ahead. And okay, take this position, do that. Don't do that. Do this, do that, and it'll be so much fun. You'll get a workout for sure, but definitely learn composure under chaos if you had to learn anything. That's the best thing. And it
Wow.
translates so well in the professional world.
That's beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. It does my heart heavy to have to end this call.
I know. I
It
know.
really does. But I know that we have reached our time and we still have folks who are, I mean, they're glued in. Everyone is still listening. I don't see where many people have dropped out at all. People are tapped in and they are, I'm assuming, enjoying what they're hearing. Because if you were not enjoying it, you would have left a long time ago. But friends, this has been like a beautiful way to start the 2026 Brunch and Learn series, our continuing education series with the qualified. And so we invite you all come back next month. We will have another Brunch and Learn next month. They happen on the third Thursday of every month, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern time until around 12-ish. We'll put 12-ish on there, right? But we invite you all to come on back, check out the Qualifies website to learn more. Again, we extend our warmest thank yous and appreciation to you, Brian, for just gracing us with your presence and your wisdom today. We have all learned so much and have been enriched by today's presentation. So thank you so much. And friends, we'll see you all next time. Until we meet again, continue going and growing and glowing. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.